An interview with a local legend.
Hi, my name is Ty Walker. I am 29. I started playing drums when I was 13, so I've been playing drums for 16 years now. I think I started wanting to be a drummer after there's like one particular moment. I think growing up, I actually played guitar at first. My dad played guitar; it was the thing, like obvious. I found it boring. I just didn't grab me at all. So then there was a moment where I remember watching is the Queen live at Wembley DVD, and there was a particular shot where you had Roger and Freddie, and just that and the massive crowd of people. And I just remember looking at Roger Taylor and going, "I want to do that. I wanted that. I want that moment, please, forever." And I haven't really looked back since. So I started playing drums, I said, when I was like 13, and it was in the local youth club. There was like a little music project, and there was a couple of guys, and they were jamming, and I started like tapping on everything and doing my parents' heads in. And they were like, they just needed someone to fill in on drums. They were like, "Does anyone play drums?" I was like, "I do," and I never actually played drums in my life, but could kind of like wing it and sort of could play like a really loose, sloppy, simple drum beat. But that was enough. And then I was like, "Yeah, cool. See you next week, man." And it went from there, and then ended up being the first band I was in. That moment was just the seminal moment for me, where it took over everything in my life, and I was tapping on everything in the house, pots, pans, the back of the car, like dude. I mean, it got to the point where I was like, "I want to play drums, I want to play drums," and my family were like, "No, you're going through a phase." And I was like, "No, no, no, like I really want to do this." So my mum was like, "Well, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have lessons." That was the trade off. So I started having lessons, just completely threw myself into it, and it took over my life. And then started a band with those guys. We were called Eight Piece Suits. It was like ska punk sort of stuff. Terrible name, but it was great fun. And then started gigging all over like the Brecon area. And then ended up like joining other friends' bands and filling in for them. There was a band called Fretless, whilst in the other band as well. Then there was like an emo band called With No Regards. And then sort of various members from each of those bands ended up sort of forming a like local super group. And we called All Our Glory. And then we started like touring the UK with that band. We did really well. We recorded some stuff. We got Radio 1 airplay. And then we were like, that really, really drove it. And then that went for a while until it kind of all fell apart and the wheels fell off and we sort of split up. And that was when I went to uni. And I think I became a little bit disheartened at that point with playing because I think I got so much like traction quite early on. Like I was 16, 17 when this was going really well. So I sort of took a step back and I went back to playing guitar a little bit. And then I sort of finished uni and was like, there's something missing in my life. Like, what am I missing? And I started playing kit again. And I was like, oh yeah, this thing that I love, that I've always loved. Why did I ever stop doing this? So then I got back, and then it was the classic story of like work and trying to make drumming happen in between and playing on the weekends, being a weekend warrior. And then I think I got to a point where I was working enough and depping with loads of different bands that I could kind of make a bit of money doing this. And it got to the point where it was like I could take a risk on this and I could see if I could do this as like full time as a job. So I know too many people that have sat around in pubs and gone, I used to be in a band, but then I had a wife and kids and I just gave it up. And I thought, I don't want to be that guy. Like, I want to just, have a punt at it and see what happens. And if give myself a year, and that was 4 years ago now. So that's where I'm at now. And then, playing with a load of bands and do as much as I can now. Cool. So, I mean, currently I'm like a professional touring and recording musician, I guess, is the fancy pants title. But yeah, it's what I do for a living now. So I work with a guy called John Adams. He's the sort of main artist that I work with. He's a singer songwriter. Um, he was on X Factor years ago, which kind of gave him a platform and launched him in his own career. And then yeah, I was brought on. I worked with him for a year, and then COVID happened, but he managed to sort of keep me on board. Also got another band that I work with that I'm a full member of called Guilty Party, which is kind of like alt indie rock sort of stuff. And then just loads of other session stuff. So I work with a pop artist in Hereford called Lucia, and then a bunch of stuff online and things like that. And the online stuff is, the social media presence is an unfortunately like necessary evil of what we do as musicians. So I did a crazy project during lockdown where I decided it would be a good idea to do a video a day every day for a year. And every video would tie into like a national celebration of like, so sometimes it would be Christmas or Diwali or something like that. Or it would be kind of tying it into, National Pie Day or something like that. So I figured it all out in lockdown because I had nothing else to do and was staring into the abyss. So I did that, and it was a pretty epic undertaking. I think I underestimated how much work it would be when I started it, but it was really, really fun, and it taught me a lot about like recording and editing and all that sort of stuff. So it really helped kind of add an extra string to my bow. And yeah, between that, I teach at Maze Music 2 days a week, which again was something that kind of birthed out of lockdown because I had no work. Just all my work just disappeared. So it was kind of like, what can I do? How can I diversify? And I think that was, it kind of landed in my lap really, that they were looking for a drum tutor. So I started, and it was all online, like video lessons. So it was really like in at the deep end. But yeah, I actually really enjoy it. It was something I never had thought about particularly too much, but kind of jumped in and threw myself into it. And it's great. Yeah, it's only like 2 days a week at the moment, but it's really enjoyable. And it's nice to teach people some of these weird, wonderful skills I've learned. This was like trying to pick your favorite child because I could probably pick a favorite band for each genre of music because I love so much music. And I think that's like a really important thing as a session musician, that you needs to be that kind of, I would say it's the Swiss Army drummer kind of thing that I try to do. So picking a favorite band was so difficult, but I think it would probably be a band called Space Hog, who were like kind of huge in the 90s. The sort of big hit, I think it's coming back to feature on the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, is called In the Meantime. But they're one of those bands that I think they're a rock band at heart, which is what I love. That's what I grew up listening to. But they just cover so much and they've like only got like 4 albums out, but every album cover to cover is just stellar. So yeah, love that because there's so many great parts in each song that like, and it changes and chops and changes. One song will be this big epic glam rock thing, and then it's like a soft acoustic type stuff, and then they've just got downright silly stuff. I think that kind of suits me to a T, really. This was also really hard, again for really similar reasons. That it was this, you could pick a favorite drummer for each genre, but after staring at myself in the mirror for a long time thinking about this one, I thought it's probably Taylor Hawkins, the late great, because again, as I said, what I do, I'm a rock kid at heart, but there's lots of other music that I play that I also love and I also enjoy. And I think, you look at Taylor, obviously Foo Fighters being the main breadth of his work, but you look at stuff like when he was with Alanis Morissette and people like that, which is stuff that's, is wildly different from where he was with Foos and things like that. So I think, and just his playing is the energy he brings to shows and stuff. I mean, the man was a machine. He'd play for 3 hours and, be like, yeah, cool, now what? It's just, that, and be able to hold an audience like he does. And, he's a secret frontman. And again, this is something I think a lot of people have said to me is that, although I'm at the back, I'm still showing off and giving it lots. And I think that was, learned from watching people like Taylor. Foo Fighters is the obvious choice. I mean, apart from the side they're currently looking for a drummer, so is that too soon? But but apart from that, was you'll probably be Foos just because that's life ambition is to play huge festivals and stadiums to people and just to live, breathe, and sweat through a drum kit. It's what it's about. It's where I started. I look at those videos of Roger Taylor. It's in Wembley. I think that's where I want to be, but So yeah, Foos would be the obvious choice. But if it wasn't Foo Fighters, I think it would be like a pop act or something, like a Taylor Swift or a Dua Lipa or someone like that, where it's just something a little bit different. I think a lot of people, when they know me or they get sort of getting to know me, I come across like I'm a bit of a rock kid. But actually, I love all sorts of music. So yeah, a little bit of country, a little bit of pop, something like that would be awesome. My main kit that I use is a Tama SLP Kapoor, which is a 10, 12, 14, 16, 22 kick. And they are all in hard cases, provided by the lovely people at Drum Depot. Plug. um, I use Zildjian cymbals. I'm currently using kind of a bit of a mishmash of stuff. It's mostly like one of the country packs. So it's 15-inch K-Light hats, 17 and a 19 K cluster, then a 20 custom hybrid ride. Hardware pedals, kicks, and hi-hats, I use DW9000, and then all my other hardware is Gibraltar, which I've had since I bought my first kit, and that stuff is just bomb-proof. It will just live forever. It's great stuff. Sticks, I use ProMark, Evans heads, and all my electronics are Roland. I use a SPDSX for all sorts of stuff, Roland triggers, and then I also use a Roland VAD 306 for a lot of gigs and stuff. Part of what I do for work is weddings and things like that, so that also, you've got to be able to change on the fly, and Roland stuff's perfect for that. I think I'm lucky in that I get to do what I love already as a job. So I think it's just a continuation of where I'm at and just slowly building stuff up. The end goal, obviously, the dream is to play festivals, major festivals, and stadiums and things like that. But yeah, I think just keep working and keep growing and progressing, working with more artists, getting on more recordings, being more diverse in my playing, and yeah, just see the world, bits of Europe, tour the world if I can, and just keep going and keep progressing. So this video is the song is by an artist called John Adams, the main guy I work with. The song is called Ripcord. Originally, the audio for this for the track itself was recorded in lockdown. So I recorded the drum part in my home studio, then sent it off to get mixed by John's producer, and we all kind of did that because we were trying to make it work as best we could during the lockdown period. This video itself was kind of like a redo. I think after I did all the videos and I'd learned so much more about how I mix sound and how to record drums and that sort of stuff, I kind of wanted to revisit it. So I went to a little local theatre in Abergavenny called the Melville Theatre. Got a buddy of mine together and we filmed it. So this video is a live, emphasis on the lie part of the live audio, because again, I recorded the audio for this in my home studio and then we overlaid it, but with all the new tips and tricks I'd learned. And I think it's a really good video because it showcases my playing in sort of a wider range. The track starts with brushes and is really, really soft, and it kind of builds as the track goes through. So you start brushes, then it's sort of side stick, and then by the sort of end of the bridge into the final chorus, there's these big tom parts, and it really sort of lets loose. I think that covers that range of what I can do, where I can do softy, or I can do big smashy bashy, and it kind of covers everything.
Is there any truth in the rumour that Taylor Swift got in touch with you and offered you £1 million a year to play, and you said, nah, do you know what, I want to stay in Abergavenny?
I can't possibly comment on that.
Perfect.
I wish, mate.
When you leave, I never wanna let you go. So forgive me if I'm holding on too tight. Every time I try to use this line before, I've meant it, but the words just don't come out right. Baby, I've been falling as I learn to fly. I've got one hand wrapped around the ripcord, the other is all yours. Don't be afraid to fall. I promise I won't let go. And if we need to land, I've got one hand on the ripcord. On the days I've lost my way, you found me. Like we're made as two halves of one design. I know that I am prone to overthinking. Oh, but darling, you never